My introduction to Judith Sennett was with seeing people online criticize her, say that she and Erin Beauregard both have very juvenile writing styles and a ton of plot holes in their books. Now, if you visited this channel before, then you know I don't like Beauregard's books. So you're asking me why I read her book then? Because I don't make good life decisions. That's not something you need to worry about, Sugar Cheeks. It's not. Shh. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Although I didn't like this book and read it with only one eye open to save my energy, I want to say that I'm still gonna give her another chance. I've heard from her fans that this book is objectively her worst, and she redeems herself with her other works eventually. They highly recommend her short story collections, and there's also this book where a T-Rex attacks people, and that looks like a fun time. I definitely want to try that one. Also, all in all, she seems like a sweet person, okay? I read her review of the Barbie movie on her Instagram and teared up a little. Anyone who loves and feels connected to that movie immediately gets brownie points from me. I don't even care what kind of person you are. You could be a serial killer, and I would just cheer you on and help hide the body. For legal reasons, that was a joke. Please do not ask me to do that with you, because I won't. In No One Writes for Free, we are looking at a family of 3 on a road trip to college campus. Mom, Jody, and her college-age kids, Poppy and Ralph. Ever since her husband died and her kids started college, Jody turned her house into a fun house. She brings all types of boy toys, sometimes separately, sometimes in groups, and together they all play a game called Origami. It is similar to origami. In origami, you fold paper. In origami, you fold people. Each man has his own special talent in bed. One is good with his hands, another one has a pee-pee that reaches her G, there's one that enjoys a bit of piss play. I really don't know why we need to know any of this, but we sure read about it for several pages. In fact, we even read about how much Jody wants to get railed in the middle of this gas station store by the clerk, a Mexican dude named Mateo. He's looking her up and down, she's looking him up and down. She asks him if she can use the toilet and jumps a little on her feet, does a little dance so that her boobs jiggle. It's all very technical. Mateo shows her the way to the personnel bathroom because she has boobs. And those bodacious badangadongs do not deserve to jiggle in the disgusting gas station restroom. While he's being this nice to her, Jody is just over there pissing, thinking how much she wants to just piss in front of him. How much she wants to see how he would react to seeing her almost orgasmic face when she's having her release, honestly. The amount of piss talk in this book is enough to drown a geriatric. All hot and bothered, she returns to the car with Mateo's number and gets surprised when she sees her daughter's face crying with her snot running down. Jody's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And Poppy's like, she's just crying. She's not saying anything, but she doesn't have to, because someone else in the car answers for her. There's a man in the back seat of their car currently holding a gun to Ralph's head, and he says they ain't allowed to talk. The man is pretty much your regular inbred redneck from Alabama. There's not much discussing needed. He's as ugly gets. He's never known what a toothbrush is. He probably calls it a shiv. He burns to a crisp in the sun. He has a giant puss-filled zit on his shoulder that looks like it would make you a lot of money if you recorded popping it and put it on YouTube. The man says drive. Jody starts driving, Poppy keeps sobbing, and Ralph starts pissing himself. Someone always gotta piss in this book. It's like Judith Sennett saw everyone complaining about how it's so unrealistic that they never show people pissing in books and movies, and just wanted to balance the media. The man at this point has to let them know that he's a creep, and he does that by telling them a story of the time how he came too fast and failed to satisfy his girlfriend, and she made fun of him, so he knocked her unconscious and started sexually assaulting her. So if that doesn't tell you exactly where this story is going, I don't know what will. He questions Ralph if his dingle-dangle has ever dingle-dangled, and Poppy if she's ever got dingle-dangled. While he's forcing them to tell personal information about their lives they would rather not talk about, they see an old couple next to a car that broke down. He makes them stop and ask what's wrong, because he's such a good citizen. The old man Andy explains their situation and asks if it would be too much of a bother to drive back with him to the gas station to call AAA. The man says, "Yeah, we can, but we only have space in the car for your lady." Andy somehow accepts this offer coming from a stranger in the middle of the Mexican desert. He doesn't question it. He doesn't say, "We're old, man. We're both shrunk down. It's not like I'm a giant. Why do you want my wife? Why not me? Pick me. Choose me. Love me." No, Andy doesn't say any of these things. Instead, he pushes his wife, Brenda, into the mouth of a lion, and the lion gets his gun out and shoots Andy in the head, because that's what lions do. In the car drive to Frick Frack who knows where, the man forces Brenda, the old lady, to give him a handy, even though Brenda has arthritis in her hands, and then he just makes her do the same to Ralph, just to compare sizes. The man clearly has a lot of problems, and one of those problems is with his size, because he even questions Brenda if his pee-pee is bigger than her now dead 90-year-old hubby's pee-pee. And Brenda is like, LOL, no. But then the man gets mad, holds the gun to her head, and makes her say, yes. Yours is bigger. Yours is the biggest one I've ever seen. I've never seen such a huge thing. It's a shame that there are two teenagers in that car, and not a single one of them decided to bully him. Then they drive off the road for a while and stop next to a creek, and it starts to get really poopy after this. They beg to be released, to be let go, but the man says, "Not until we have fun. Don't worry, I'm not gonna kill you, I'm not a killer. If you do what I say, you'll get to go free in the end." Then he turns to Brenda and says, "Well, girlie, you couldn't get Ralph hard, could you? So let's see if maybe Poppy can." I would like to remind everyone that Poppy is Ralph's sister. The man tells Poppy to get naked and get on with sucking. This is obviously messed up, but the fact that their mom Jody helps her get naked and tells her to just do it. The woman doesn't even open her mouth to say anything to the man. He's making you kids molest each other. He's making you kids molest each other. How hasn't she jumped up on him yet to get the gun and put a bullet in his head is beyond me, because in that moment I would do anything but what she did. She's justifying her actions in her head by saying that they're gonna be let go at the end and we all can just go to therapy after this and get fixed. He killed a man just to kidnap his wife, like not even an hour ago. Brandon is still with us, aren't you, girlie? Yes, you are. Are you really that stupid, Jody, to believe that he would ever let any of you go after what he's about to do to you? How is this rational thinking? How am I supposed to believe that this is a real human being, that this is a loving mom? Just because you told me that she's a good mom and her kids love her? Okay. Alright, Judith Sonnet. I can't argue with that. I can't. Blowing the pipe doesn't get a sound out of Ralph, though, so the man sticks a vibrating butt plug inside him and forces him to sexually assault his sister from behind, just like what he did to his girlfriend back when he was Ralph's age. It's all very philosophical, it's all very psychological, it's all very Sigmund Freud. This goes on for 2 hours until finally Ralph's body betrays him and he releases on the ground. That of course isn't the only betrayal here, because the man takes Poppy's face in his hands and says, "How are you feeling, Poppy? Do you feel happy?" Poppy doesn't answer and the man pulls the trigger. Well, at least now we know for sure that she's not gonna get pregnant with her brother's baby. That we can be glad about. Dear listener, if you think that someone being dead means that you can no longer have your fun with them, then you are dead wrong, because the man tells Ralph to do it all over again. Jody's like, making my son molest his sister? I'm fine with, but making my son molest his dead sister? Now that's where I draw the line, you creepo. and launches at him. She's able to push him against the hood of the car, and Ralph is able to get the gun, but in a matter of seconds, the man reaches for his duffel bag that has all kind of used and dirty toys inside of it and pulls out a knife. So the situation we're dealing with right now is Ralph has a gun, and he can shoot the man, but the man has a knife against Jordy's neck, so if Ralph even aims the gun at the man, he will most definitely slash her throat, which Ralph thinks that would make him the reason his mom dies. Here's my problem with this, right? You're already gonna die. You're all gonna die, one by one. Andy is gone, your sister is gone. He lied. He's gonna kill all of you at the end. So just shoot the guy and at least two of you survives, or shoot yourself, because then at least you won't have to do what he asked. But no, Ralph just drops the gun. Ralph just drops the gun. He drops the gun and goes over to his sister Poppy's body, and since Jody is already pressed against his body, the man says, "You might as well use your mouth on my piece, sweetheart. It's not like you're using it to say anything to me anyway." While all of this is going down, Brenda makes a move and starts climbing the creek wall to escape, but of course she's not invisible. She's like 100 years old, she's slow, so the man sees what she's getting up to and grabs her. At this point, Ralph starts protesting because she's just an old lady, you sick fuck, let her go. But the man just forces Ralph to clean her dead sister's ass, because when you die, your body releases all kind of stuff. So Ralph is just over there now eating chocolate cake. Then the man returns his attention to Brenda and starts stabbing her in the stomach until there's a sizable hole where he can shove his hand in and pull her intestines out. But of course that is too tame for a sick freak like him, so he takes his anal beads from his bag, dangles it into her mouth, reaches up to her throat with his hand through her stomach, pulls them out, and ta-da! Pretends like he's just performed the best magic trick in the whole entire world. Then he goes back to Jody to keep going where they left off, but soon after the party ends. With Ralph grabbing the knife the man forgot laying next to Brenda's intestines and inserting it in the man's neck. This happens while his pee-pee is still in Jody's mouth, so she's like, "Oh hell, why not? I've always wanted to try this," and bites it. She spits the remains of it onto his mouth that is begging for forgiveness. Jody pulls the knife out of his neck and says, "No one writes for free." A mother and her naked son, all covered in dirt, poop, and blood, enters a gas station to use the bathroom. I don't know why. They were next to a creek. I also don't know why Ralph went all the way back in the car with his dingle-dangle and his bummy bum out, because they were going to college. So they had their clothes packed. Did you get used to being naked that fast, boy? Were you raised by wolves? And when it comes to Mateo, I know you guys are curious about him. How did he react to this? Well, Mateo, bro doesn't even recognize her. He calls the cops on them. Mateo, Mateo, Mateo. Look at those boobs, bro. How can you miss that? Alright, fellas, now that that's done, let's have the talk. Judith Sennett described her book as an exercise in plotless gore, which I heavily disagree with. I see lots of extreme horror authors and their fans sort of defend bad work by saying things like, "Oh, it's made to shock the reader, it's made to disturb the reader." Well, no shit, bro, it's an extreme horror book. Do I look like I expect to rip my ass laughing? And call me a dimnut if you want, but how is a creep kidnapping a family with their car and making them do wild acts with one another, and then the family getting their revenge by killing the man, not a plot? Just because you're not good at deepening, at furthering that plot, it doesn't mean your book is plotless. It is pointless, but it isn't plotless. You can't escape that fast. You can't just get away with it. There's a plot. You just wrote a bad book. I understand splatterpunk and extreme horror and this idea of disturbing your reader with your really graphic descriptions of the disgusting events that take place in your book. I understand it's coming from a place of rioting and uprising against this quote unquote soft media that never shows a body or describes it, whatever, and challenging the society's limits, pushing those limits. I understand all of that. What I don't understand is how these authors can have pages and pages filled with descriptions of all kinds of bodily fluids just for their book to be the driest piece of work that you could ever touch. I don't understand that. I really don't. Judith Sennett says in her afterword that she was inspired by Wes Craven's movie The Last House on the Left, which is also apparent in her use of the phrase "it's just a book" as a reminder to her readers that they're just reading a book. Like how on the poster of the movie it said, in order to avoid fainting, keep repeating, "It's just a movie, it's just a movie, yada yada." I think that was cool of her to do that. I love Wes Craven's works too. Scream is my favorite franchise ever, but I just wish that she took more inspiration from Craven's writing than the depravity of the story. Because I went ahead and rewatched that movie just to make sure, and I can say confidently that Wes Craven was able to give his characters more depth in the first 5 minutes of the movie than Judith Sennett in her entire novella. Did you want to shock your reader with the gruesome details, Judith Sennett? Or did you want to shock your reader with the lack of character depth? This book is so shallow that if you jump right into it, you might actually break your ankles. Before the man enters their lives, all Jodie talks about is how horny she is, how much she likes to get screwed by her boy toys, and how attractive this gas station dude Mateo is. And I'm like, I'm not happy about reading it, it's kind of boring, but like, whatever, man. Women be horny too, goddammit. Hell, aren't we all? It's normal. But then I'm thinking, what's the point of this exactly? Why are we reading this? Because it's not short. Especially when we also read the man say things like how Jodie knows how to treat a man. She's just as filthy as him. She saw him and wanted him right away, right, Jodie? This is drawing a similarity to the reaction she had when she saw Matteo. This sounds puritanical. You know how nutjobs used to say that the reason why every shark movie starts with a girl in a bikini getting killed by the shark is to show the girls in the audience that if you're a slut, if you wear a bikini and you're not a virgin, you die and you deserve it. Anyone remember that? Like, is this a punishment for a horny woman who's also a mom, is what I'm asking. Because she wanted to have sex so badly that she somehow ended up in this predicament. Because I don't see how any of that several pages long horny talk relates to the rest of the book at all. A woman without morals meets a man without morals. Is this what's happening here? Because if so, that is so goddamn disappointing coming from a lesbian trans woman. If that isn't what's happening, then what's happening? Does Judith Sennett somehow equate making a mom of two comfortable with her sexuality and sensuality to giving her a personality? Because if so, that is also so goddamn disappointing coming from a lesbian trans woman. I really can't connect the two in a way that doesn't scream bigotry, misogyny, and idiocy. I really can't. If anyone can, let me know down in the comments, because I was gonna say I'm lost in the sauce, but then I remember there's no sauce in this book, and talking about it actually feels like I'm rubbing sandpaper on my tongue. Also, if this is plotless gore and there's no need for character depth or development, then I don't understand why we even have those inner monologues in the book at all. Why not just dive right into the gore, the nasty stuff, write 15 pages of it in third person and call it a day? Bada bam, bada boom. I can't see why not. Especially since when you're reading Jodie's inner monologue in this book, it's really hard to believe that they're coming from a woman or a loving mom, which she is described as. Jodie had loved Poppy so. She had loved their girl time when they went out for fancy dinner and left Ralph at home to play on his Xbox. They would go shopping, eat ice cream at the mall, and choose a nice place for dinner on those days. Conversations had jumps from boys' movies and gossip to Poppy's plans. Her daughter was just forced into doing sexual acts with her brother by a man on gunpoint, and then got her brains splashed by the same gun by the same man right in front of her. And this mom is currently sucking off that same creep. Is this what a mother would think in that moment? got time. We have got time and to parties amplified. Yay, got time. Are you actually being serious? The book is written like what 12-year-old boys think happens when girls sleep over at each other's houses. I've never seen a female author write a female character this atrociously. Never mind, I read It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. You know what, Judith Sennett? Maybe you're not that bad after all. Maybe you're not that bad. Jodie found herself wishing that the man had just shot her. The agony and mental torment she was enduring was more than any human could handle. No human was built for this torture, especially an average woman with two nearly grown children. Her life was made up of small pleasures, the adoration of her fuck buddies, jealous looks from neighbors, and the idolization she received from her babies. She had never known such negativity before now. I'm begging you, please tell me, does this sound like a person who just witnessed a murder and is now currently being kidnapped with her whole family and also Brenda? Like, what is this writing? How is this gonna make me feel disturbed? How is this gonna make me feel terrified? How is this gonna do anything but bore me? Not a single line in this book makes you actually believe that these people are being tortured. Not a single line makes you feel bad for them. Not a single line in here shows me this is a family, not tells me this is a family, but shows me through their acts that this is a family. And when I say act, I'm not talking about incest. Like, listen, if you do wild sexual acts with a cardboard cutout of a human in front of me, like an anime girl or something, I'll call you a weirdo, take a picture of you doing all that, and bully you for the rest of eternity, and think that you're definitely a disturbed individual. But I'm not gonna be horrified by it. I'm not gonna have nightmares about it. That's not gonna traumatize me. I'm just gonna think you're a freak. So if your book has no character depth, the reaction you're gonna get out of me reading all those gruesome details is more or less the same. In the afterword, Judith Sennett also says this: I wrote this book with the intent of it feeling like an offensive and cruel rape and revenge thriller without muting the trauma with social commentary and artful dialogue. This book is supposed to make you feel shitty and bad and like you need a shower. As someone who was abused before, that's how the world can feel sometimes, and I think it would be disingenuous of me to write a book about this extreme subject while treating it with kids' gloves. I think what's disingenuous is thinking that fleshing out your characters and shaping them into actual human beings is somehow treating this extreme subject matter with kids' gloves. Yeah, character development is treating sexual abuse with kids' gloves, but having inner monologues that scream they've been written by ChatGPT isn't, apparently. What happens in the book isn't as shocking as the author's inability to make us feel for the abused characters while she herself admits to being abused. Of course, I'm not saying she's lying about it. I would never say that. Don't get it twisted. Don't be an ugly person. I'm just saying that the deliberate choice to make the innocent characters as one-dimensional and as unlikable as possible is weird, since one would expect there to be more heart showing throughout a book that's coming from an abuse survivor. It doesn't matter that it's a horror book. That's just my opinion. This whole, oh, I didn't want to add social commentary and artful dialogue to take away from the trauma feels like a cop-out a weirdo film student would use after making literal porn. I guess you can call this my magnum opus, the best thing that's ever been created since Ratatouille. Here I am showing you how two humans who are intertwined can change the energy of a room with the pure ecstasy that's radiating off their bodies. Yeah, Ryan. That's the clapping of the cheeks that's changing the energy of the room, bro. It's the echo, man. It's the echo. This book was a challenge to me, and I mean that literally. I told myself that I had 10 days to write, edit, and release it. Only 10 days. Good job, girlie. Good job. You wrote a book in 10 days. I believe you. I believe that you wrote this book in 10 days. I believe it.